Hello, good evening, Happy New Year, welcome to Easy 8 Online Painting Club. I forgot the name of my own show. My name's Danny, and for the next 2 hours I'm going to be sitting here painting my miniatures live, providing you hopefully with a little bit of company to paint your own. If you're looking for a place to sit and do your projects, whether it's painting models, painting a canvas, man, it could be even collecting stamps, it doesn't even really matter. Whatever it is that you want to do, if you want some company live while you're doing your hobby, this is the quintessential location online for you to come and do so. Happy 2024. The last time we spoke was a couple of weeks ago. Last Friday was my partner's birthday, so I couldn't, in all goodness of my heart, do the thing, could I? I couldn't do the show and not celebrate my partner's birthday, so I decided to take the week off. Since that week, I have been whisked away on excursions with work, doing lots of training across the country, very little preparation, and just an intense and insane amount of work in a short space of time. That's just taken up all my time since New Year. I had a great Christmas. I had a great time doing the last show of 2023. I had a fantastic New Year, and it's just been work, work, work. I'm going to be going away in a few days for another training thing, another part of the country, backwards and forwards all over the place. Fortunately, the timetable of that has been reduced quite a bit recently, which is nice. It means I can calm down a little bit. But it has meant, of course, that I've not been able to do anything really since last week's show. But that's what this time of year is always like for me. In the industry that I work in, it's always very busy for me in terms of my training at this time of year. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into this into this new year, into this evening's painting session. And of course, if you like what we do here, then please do subscribe to the show. It's such a small gesture from you. It means so much to me. It means that the community grows, and that's what we're really interested in here. All over down the side over here, at least it's on my screen anyway, it might be somewhere else on your screen, but there's a live chat full of people who are waiting here for their acknowledgements to go live, to get on with their painting projects. Hi guys, thanks for coming along, and a Happy New Year to you. Is it too late to say Happy New Year? There's an official date, isn't there? And it's not now. It's actually quite late. So if you haven't seen someone since New Year and it feels like it's been a long time, there is a cut-off date where you can say, where it's acceptable for you to say Happy New Year up until that point. But Happy New Year to you guys. Yeah, please do subscribe. We have had an insane amount of subscribers recently. Hit the like button, guys. yeah, please hit the like button. Hit that thumbs up thing down there on YouTube. Hit the subscribe. We're up to 159 subscribers. It's just mental. It feels like a million years ago that I was desperately trying to get to 150, and here we are, like on the doorstep of 160. Tell a friend, share Easy 8's name. I just want it to get out there so that more people can have, a community to kind of paint their stuff along to. Because it's lonely work sometimes, and it's a bit monotonous, isn't it? Like, I've got a big pile of stuff just here, just out of shot, of stuff that I've been working on over the show over the last few months, and I just don't always get to finish them. Ever. Not just online on the show, but just ever. And it can feel like an uphill struggle sometimes. So if you're looking for some company doing that, please do subscribe to the show, because the Easy 8 community is getting huge. Hit them hearts in the live chat. Tell me if you like the beard. I'm just letting it go for a little while. Hit that in the comment section. Let's get the comment section fired up a little bit. Should the beard stay or should it go? Maybe I could make my own sable paintbrushes. Oh, just the thought of that. Who have we got joining us in the live chat today? We've got Steve. Steve says, first, you're welcome. Adrian says, second, hi guys. Hello from Christoulis. Hi Christoulis, nice to see your name in there again. Lorna Lacey, oi. I know for a fact that's not my mum. I know that's my dad. He's still having troubles with his logon. So that's Jeff. That's Jeff at Purple Lion Creations. Hi Jeff. We've got Kez. Hi Kez. Hi all, and Lorna says Staff. It's not Lorna. Still having email problems. He is, he really is. It's today. The cut-off date is today. I genuinely thought it was like not in January. What do you know? It was meant to be, wasn't it? Happy New Year. Let's get that done. Yep, getting it sorted though, says Lorna. Says Jeff. Yeah, good. Yeah, you got to have your email all sorted out. If you still write 2023 by accident, it's not too late. Okay, cool. If you're working on a project this evening, do come and let me know. You can drop it in the live chat over here with these crazy bunch. You can put it down there in the comment section. I say let's get that fired up a little bit. If you're watching it retrospectively, I read all the comments. So if you want to stick something down there in the comments, please do. I'm genuinely interested in what it is that you guys are painting this evening. If you are painting anything at all, maybe you're just making something or drawing plans or whatever it is. Something that I popped very quickly in this week's schedule on Facebook, because we're not just here on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we're also on Discord at the end of every show, apart from tonight, but more on that later. Yes, I've forgotten what I was going to say, but brilliant. I'll see what I did there as I went off on a tangent. Okay, cool. Do you know what? Just going to get on painting. So, let's go over to the workbench. It'll come to me in a minute. That's what I was going to say. Yes, I genuinely find inspiration in everything that you guys do. So when you're sharing pictures on Facebook, it's not just pointless posting. Put your pictures up there. There's a link to all our platforms just down there. Please go and check them out. Flood Facebook with all your stuff so that you can share it with everybody, so that others just like me can also be like inspired and encouraged and enthused by your work. I've got a really squeaky headphone. I think it's time to get rid of these. Why are you so squeaky? It's doing my head in. Cool. You'll notice here that I've got a really big tank. This is a king tiger. Lovely, isn't it? Steve says, I'm just cooking. Back soon. No worries, man. Go sort your life out, so it's fine. We're always here. This is a king tiger, 28mm, bigger than what I normally paint. I normally paint 15mm. So it's nice to have a big chunky tank on the table. Something special about this tank is it was given to me as a gift by Stafford in the live chat. I've said this already, Staff, but thank you so much. It's a really thoughtful gift, and I'm not just saying that because we're on the show, but it really does mean a lot. It's a very special gift. Thank you very much. And it's just really charming. It's not a super detailed model. It's not like a Tamiya kit or anything like that. So it hasn't got lots of bits that have all been put on there. It's probably printed in I reckon about 4 pieces. It looks like the cannon's a separate piece, although I could be talking rubbish. The turret is certainly separate. It comes out on a really big pillar like that. And then it's the hull. It's all 3D printed in resin. You can tell it's resin because, well, for starters, it's resin. I just know what resin is. But this is very indicative of a 3D resin print. We got lots of these little dots. They're kind of bumpy. They're called pimples, and they are where the support structures held this to the build tank when it was being, so the build plate in the tank when it was being printed. It's got these big holes here, and I don't really mind them. The underneath, the idea isn't to kind of flip it up and have a look under its skirt or anything like that. It's to let the liquid resin drain out from the inside because it's hollow. Because that's what you want to do. You want to save on your resources to print it, so it doesn't become super heavy like a paperweight. Although if you wanted to make a paperweight, it's a nice one. But also, you know, it just keeps the cost of your resin down, which would be, it's probably about 10 to 15 quid's worth of resin here if it was solid. But when you have a hollow structure, there's a potential, actually, you are going to get some in there, wet resin. This is all cured, it dries, and it's dried in a UV environment, so the ultraviolet rays help it dry, or they make it dry. But sometimes you'll get like a little bit of residue left over, and if there's wet resin left on top of somewhere touching dry resin, it eats it away. Now, I've got a little T-Rex model that I didn't think to bring down, just up on the shelf over there, where the legs split, where on the inside there was a little bit of resin. It had been dripping out of the drain hole, but it had been running down the leg of the T-Rex, and it split open. I actually had to give it to Kez, who's in the live chat now, who's got a 3D printing station with all the mod cons. Has a UV box to put it in. So that helped cure that. Inside you can see all the supports and things, and as I'm painting it's probably going to rattle around and fall out and whatever, and I might have to pull it out with some tweezers. There are very few imperfections on here that I'm actually worried about at all, and if anything they're just going to add to a little bit of texture. I was thinking there's a little bit of faceting, I don't really know what to call it, but some flattened edges on these mud guards here that might be a little bit coarse. They might show up when painted. Other than that, there's only a few other little bits and pieces. There's a few like pimples and stuff underneath. Let's get that out. Can I get it? I've got it. Is it going to come out? Come on now. There we go. There's a bit of support structure right there. Just going to chuck that over there for a minute. There'll be more rattling around in there. There's a few little nuggets here and there that could be doing with being removed. Resin, 3D printing resin is really nice to clean up. Just have to kind of touch it with a knife's edge really, and it just sort of falls apart. Just going to touch that, tap that down and make all the little bits come out of it. And there's just a few little pieces. I haven't had any time to really kind of sit there and dedicate to cleaning it up, but a quick inspection earlier on made me realise that there's not an awful lot to clean up. Just a couple of little like bits that I'm not actually even cutting them. I'm just kind of like levering them out really. It's just a really fun build. It's just a nice model, and I'm ever so grateful. I don't do the show for free things, but people send me free things, and I'm just so blown away by the generosity and kindness. You don't have to do that, guys. It's not a thing. But when people do, like, I feel like I kind of got to do it on the show, haven't I? Because, well, you guys are the community. You'll buy me stuff. I'm gonna paint it up. I love a tiger. I love a king tiger. It's a beast of a tank. Of course, Stafford and I and a few of the others in the Easy 8 community have been to the Tank Museum in Bovington, in Dorset, and we stood in front of a real one, and it's a beast. It's an animal. It really is. So I've cleaned up a few bits and pieces on there, a few bits and pieces here. I don't feel like I have to do an awful lot to it. There's a couple of bits on the cannon here. Shape those down a little bit. Probably because the cannon's quite long, it might have caved in a little bit. So the person who engineered it's probably put quite a few supports on there. What I might do is just get a bit of sandpaper and just run it along that. Don't want to go too crazy with sandpaper because I know that this stuff will just sort of fall away into dust. Anyway, I'm absolutely stoked with it. Thank you so much. Just going to go back over the live chat there because I know there's a few comments going in while I was chatting away there. I don't know what Steve's talking about. I'm going to leave them well alone. Kez is saying, I am painting Clan Smoke Jaguar mechs from Battletech. I know that we say Jaguar in the UK, but I do believe that the pronunciation for that clan is Smoke Jaguar. Good, cool. I'm looking forward to those. Do send pictures. I would love to see them. Stafford says the headphones need oiling. Can you hear them? Can you hear them squeaking? Oh, it's doing my head in. Christula says, Kez, I just learned how to play Battletech last night at my friendly local gaming store. That's so cool. It's so great that there's a store playing it as well, because we were talking just the other week that you don't see much of it anymore, which is a shame because it's a brilliant game to play. Also, building the second half of my Leviathan box set over here. Excellent. Photos, please, or it didn't happen. Stafford says, you are welcome. Thank you for running Easy 8. I have significantly more painted models thanks directly to you. You are absolutely welcome, and that is the whole point and soul of this show. Thank you very much. Nice, says Kez. Did you enjoy it? I bet they did. Out of this world, Models and Minis. Happy New Year to everyone. Just stopped in to say hi. Thanks very much, John. Really appreciate you stopping by. If anyone's interested, go and click on the link just down there in the description of this video for Out of This World of Models and Minis. John runs his own show, paints whatever he wants, makes whatever he wants, and he's bloody good at it. And recently, I think just earlier on today, has popped up the latest video of him building his 40k Chaos Defiler. I haven't seen the video yet, but I'm really looking forward to it, so that's exciting to look forward to. Christina says, I really enjoyed it. I love that units aren't just automatically killed off, but instead take damage over time. I also enjoy the simultaneous damage. Yes, that is really cool and quite unique, I think. The tactics and movements in terrain all feel way more important, and I like that as well. Yes, it's a very good game, or fun game, says Kez. You're absolutely right. We played Alpha Strike, if that's the game that you were playing the other day. I absolutely love that. I also like the classic game as well, but it's a much more detailed game. If you want to play a quicker game, Alpha Strike is for you. If you want to play a detailed game, play the classic one. Right. I think I've got a little bit of sandpaper over here. I've got a bit of 240. This might be just a little bit too harsh. What I'm going to do, just got a little bit of water here. It's clean water from my clean painting water pot on my pretty clean paint palette. Thanks guys. I'm just going to just see how this stuff here, how this resin reacts to being sanded. I don't want to go crazy because it is very easy to over sand resin, and I don't really mind it being a little bit faceted. I don't know if that's a good word to use. I'm going to use it anyway. I just feel like I wanted to get those flat surfaces down. It's sanding down pretty quickly actually, which is really good. Yep, very nice. All I'm going to do with this is very, very clean. I don't feel that I need to do any further prep or washing of the resin. It is a very clean model. So I'm just going to get straight on and prime it. And we'll talk about the different colour schemes, etc. in a minute. Yeah, I can feel already, even though you can see those little lines in there, I can feel that the surfaces are starting to round off much more. Yeah, very little prep work needed. Now, of course, I'm not going to spend all my time doing this. This is Easy 8 Online Painting Club, not Easy 8 Online Sanding Club. It'll be a very sad, very sad program to watch. Do you like to put a little bit of water on there? It's really for the finer grits, but you can see here that the sandpaper is becoming quite clogged up already, and that water just helps clean the surface of the sandpaper and the model as you're doing it. So if you've got very little experience with sanding, add a bit of water. Just you don't have to like drown it in there or anything. I have done some sanding with some 3D printed stuff, FDM stuff, so not even resin, where I actually just dip the sandpaper or the item into water regularly and do it over a towel, and it works fine. There's a little seam, a little printed seam going on down here, and I'm not entirely sure what that's all about. I'm hoping that that might just paint out. Let's see what happens if I just go in with a little bit of sandpaper in. Is it going to do anything, or is it going to ruin it if I do? I think it'll paint out. I don't think that'll be much of a problem. Okay, cool. Well, that was it. That was all I needed to do really in terms of prep. The rest of it's just, yeah, inconsequential. It's just going to be a fun model to paint. I'm going to paint this guy in late German war camouflage. Do you remember just a few weeks ago I was painting the 15mm mouse, where I was doing very kind of fantasy style battleship inspired camouflage on it? I am not going to do that on this one. I'm going to try my best to do late war German camouflage, which is a mixture of the original sort of undercoat, if you like, of dark yellow, Dunkelgelb, which is what the Germans call it. Don't pronounce it like that at all. It's going to have a mixture of the red and the green on there as well, but in accordance with the later war vehicles, it's going to have a large amount of the red and green on there. So I'm going to have about a 30% split on each one. So there'll be just as much red and green as there will be yellow, as where a lot of camouflages you'll find much less of the red and green. But I want it to be quite dark and imposing, and I think that should make it look quite nice. Some more comments going in. Jeff says, I invented better tech, you know. Not bitter about it, though. Do you know what? Do a little write-up. Stick it up on Easy 8 so that everyone can understand that, because he's not wrong. Staff says, I'm building another 15mm King Tiger. Thanks, Dave. Everyone's buying everyone presents. Well, do you know what? It's King Tiger Club tonight, isn't it? Steve says, aluminium polish also works good with sandpaper. Unsure how it would affect a resin model, though. I would guess a smooth finish. And I just spilled beer down my front. Don't spill beer, man. It's precious. Yeah, there's lots of like polishing compounds and things. I wonder how they would work with resin. It might be worth kind of having a little test and seeing what different results are. For this little project, though, this is more than enough, I think. Saying that, though, there is a little nubbin just sticking off the side of that skirt there. Let's just get rid of that, because that's going to mess with my mojo. There we go. Anything on this side? Just in there. Anything else? Nada. Cool. Brilliant. Right. Well, let's get this bad boy primed. I will take him apart for this. And I'm going to the outline sheet. I need to get a new spray sheet. I've oversprayed on this one now. It's just a mess of paper, paint on paper. Cool. Anything else that wants to come out of it? I'll get my tack axe clamps. Ugh, lovely. There's still more in there, but it seems to be attached still, so happy with that. Okay, cool. Now, lots of different thoughts I've had recently about the way to prime this. I've been watching some YouTube videos recently where some very talented painters have gone about their priming methods in different ways. I normally go for a grey when I'm doing things of a historical nature because it's midway between black and white. Black and white will offer you either lots of shadow for black or lots of bright color, a bright background for bright colours if you're using white. So I like to use grey, it's a middle ground. But I watched a guy who was very talented the other day give a very convincing, I suppose, instruction on how to get the most out of a black undercoat. And I'm very, very tempted to do that because what that's doing is it's making the whole model that much darker, grimier, grittier. Grimdark? I don't want it to be grimdark, but I want it to look like it's well used. And I think that black might help do that. I think it might also enhance the darker elements of the colour scheme that I want to use. One of the complaints I've had myself about using the camouflage colours that I do use is that they appear too bright to my eye, even after I've used filters and weathering on them. So I'm going to give the black a go, and I've also got loads of black, so it's just worth having a shot, right? So, Vallejo primer, just black, straight up, and I'm just going to see how it works for me, you know? It might be the worst thing ever, but, you know, if it doesn't cover over well, I can just keep spraying the yellows until it comes out nice. So, I'm just going to turn my compressor on, give that a second to warm up, and give this a bit of a shake. Also, cup of tea for the evening. I'll have a grown-up juice later on. But as some of you may remember, last year I was talking about getting a little bit fitter, a little bit healthier. I've let the old pies and beer and cake get to me, and I ain't getting no younger, man. So I've started doing a healthy thing. I've started running again. I used to run a lot, and I haven't run at all really in the last several years. So I started a very difficult journey of running 1,000 miles in a year, and I've started very successfully on that. I'm also cutting down the amount that I eat, being very aware of what I eat, and I'm also cutting down my alcohol consumption. So I might have a grown-up juice a little bit later on. Don't spill it down your front, it ends up in your pasta, says Steve. And Stafford says, "Waz it." Do you know what? I am going to give this paint a waz. My vortex mixer is going to... Oh, but it's a big bottle and it doesn't want to do it. There we go. Such a big bottle, it doesn't like doing it. But I am getting it. That'll do. Give it a waz. Okay. Let's move my mug out of the way. Let's get this turret over there. Do you know what? The workshop, the studio, is in such an appalling state. I know I said a little while ago I'll give it a really good tidy up, but Christmas and my partner's birthday and New Year and just everything got in the way. Oh my god, I've just had no time, and I cannot move on this side of the studio. I've also realised I have not cleaned up my airbrush. It's such a bad person. What I'm going to do very quickly is I'm just going to run a little bit of alcohol. Not drinking alcohol, obviously. I'm going to run a little bit of alcohol just over that, and it should just grease it up enough that I'll be able to use it for the remainder of the evening. I'm going to get a little pipette because it's much easier to handle. There we go. Alcohol is such a useful thing to have around in your studio, painting area, whatever. It's just a really good cleaner. It's extremely aggressive cleaner, So if you are using it, do be careful. You can use it to blend things on your miniatures, but it will strip through paint very, very quickly. And I'm pretty confident that airbrush cleaner is just 99.9% isopropyl alcohol. But I think it's formulated, it's probably mixed with something like a lubricant. So it is better to use airbrush cleaner in your airbrush for general use, but every now and again it's probably just as safe to flush it out with isopropyl, just straight up from the bottle. I don't see a problem with that. There we go. All I wanted to do is just run this needle through here a couple of times. There's a big blob just on the end there. Just being careful of that tip of that needle. And I'll just try and keep on the maintenance of it as we go. It's moving through fine. Such a bad person. I should definitely have sorted that out last time. Don't do as I do, folks. Don't do as I do. Some comments that are going in. There's no time for lubricant. Gotta love the North. Oh, yeah. He's a Northerner. He's proud of it, though. What can I say? Right. I'm just going to go in straight up. Get a good hopper's worth of that in there. I'm going to pop a little bit of medium in there. What medium am I going to use? Probably a bit of airbrush flow improver. I'll put a couple of drops of that in, and because I'm using so much of this stuff, I'm also going to use a drop of thinner. I actually don't use thinner an awful lot anymore. I use flow improver as my sort of go-to medium because it's kind of a 2-in-1. It does slightly dilute your paint, whatever it is that you're putting in. Right now I'm just using primer, but it is formulated to improve the flow because it's called flow improver. There's no other way of saying it, but it's designed to make it come out of the airbrush just better, and it applies to the model better. Stops it from kind of clagging up. I get much better results with it. Anyway, I'm going to just apply this all over. Do have a blocked airbrush, which is a real shame, but it is making sure that the paint doesn't actually come out that thick, which is quite nice. So pros and cons, right? Now I thought about lots of different ways that I could prime this model. I could have done pre-shading, which is doing a mixture of greys and whites, but then using black to kind of prime shade areas like the engine block over here, the details between a lot of the skirt panels and things like that with black. I chose deliberately to not do that. I'll take my needle protector off there so I can clean the end of my needle regularly. Had a bit of a blockage, but it's working. Look at that, good. I think it's important sometimes as well to try out different things, even if you've got a way that works for you. You know you've always got that to fall back on, but I think it's important to try out new things. You know, so if you've seen like I have, like a YouTuber who has tried or has done something very different to what you have done, give it a go, because you never know. It might be like the coolest thing. It might not work, but at least you know to not do that, right? So I'm really quite keen to give this a go, and I'm hoping more than anything it is the solution to my sort of my brightness or my luminosity issues. Like I said earlier, I've done a Panther in 1/35th scale, and I used the camouflage colours on it, and while I was very happy with the end results, I was never fully satisfied with how bright that the camouflage colours came out. The yellows were beautiful, and I know that it's user error. I know that it's got something to do with the way that I painted the model. It's not the paints. Don't blame your tools. That's not what I'm trying to do. But the colours just seemed too bright. I sought lots of advice from various forums online, etc., that I follow, lots of helpful information, and some of it was useful. One of those things was when you apply filters and do weathering and things like that, it's it kind of darkens down the whole aesthetic. They were absolutely right, it did do that, but not enough for what I wanted. I wanted it to look way darker. Maybe that was down to a lack of weathering. I was very new to 1/35th painting at the time, and I didn't do an awful lot of weathering. I just did mild weathering, so maybe it would have made it even darker, but I don't know. I have this feeling that this is going to be my solution. I hope so, because it's going to be fun. Okay, I'm just going to pop that over there just for a minute. Actually, I will do the side there. There we go. Come back to that in a second. What I really like about this model is that because the turret's got this pillar rather than a pin, is that it allows me to hold it on an area where it's not going to be painted. But I can also, if I want to, just pop him down. He's not touching the paper on the cannon. That's kind of handy, that is. Warning, do not try out New Woman. I honestly don't know how to respond to that. I don't know what you're talking about, but okay. Walk away slowly. I did say I was going to sand that cannon down, and I didn't do it. Maybe I'll do it again in a minute, but I've already started painting this now. Even though you're not necessarily going to see the underside of the turret, I am going to paint it anyway, because when it turns you might see a little bit under it, and yeah, I want it to not be I don't want it to be unpainted. You know what I'm saying? Airbrush is working much smoother now, which is good. I was getting a little bit concerned about that, I have to say. I'm so terrible with cleaning my airbrush. It was just New Year, man. I had to get out. I actually stayed up on Discord at the end of the show for ages with people from the community. I was talking to Grant over at Overlord Games for ages, with Kez as well, and with Stafford. I was just up for ages and ages, but I just forgot to do it. Just realised I may have not been in shot there for a while. Do apologise for that. So not only we had an awful lot of new subscribers lately, but we've also had a lot of new Facebook followers. So if you are following us on any of the platforms, welcome. I hope you find everything that you're looking for and more here. If you're not, if you aren't finding what you want here, please do tell me what it is that you're looking for, because I might be able to cater for your needs. But mostly, I hope that you enjoy the community. I hope that you enjoy the company, and hopefully you might even find a little bit of inspiration. But it's all about the motivation. I'll say that with all the T's. The motivation to kind of get through your collections, because we are hoarders, aren't we? We go and buy the thing because it's the thing that we haven't got. You've got 12 things that aren't painted, and you've got to have them all. Like Pokemon. Got to catch them all. Right, we're getting closer, aren't we? Still got a little bit of shading to do. What is quite fascinating with 3D prints is that because they're made in layers, even 3D resin prints, they are still made in layers, is that you can see all the lines and striations, and I find that quite satisfying. Hopefully that will get covered up as I paint it, but who knows. It might add an interesting quality to the overall model. Right, let's just get the size of the skirts here. The skirts will be just like, they are just like panels that are designed to kind of protect against small arms and rockets and things like that, and bombs, just to protect the tracks and the wheels. But on this model, they are actually like a solid lump. Just had a really big chime coming into my ears, and I don't exactly know what's going on. Something just went bloop bloop bloop. So maybe someone has done something, and I don't know what it is. Let me know. Steve says, "Are you bruised, Stafford?" Maybe. I lost my instruction manual for this box, and I'm having to rip already glued parts off and reattaching them. But hey, that's what super glue is for, right? Oh man, that's really gnarly. I'm sure you could find the instructions online. I'm sure you would be able to. Yeah, having to pull your models apart because you've done the wrong thing is a nuisance. It's happened to us all. Oh. No, Steve, divorced. I'm so sorry. This is going to turn into a therapy session in a minute. Yikes. Wonder what that chime was. I do get like little alarms and alerts and things in my ear sometimes. That was a new one. Nothing's coming up on the screen. Huh? Try my best to not go too heavy in there at the moment. You can see there's some areas, oopsie daisy, oh my gosh, you can see there's some areas in there that are look like they've got like light reflecting off them. It's just areas where that primer is not going, but I don't want to go in there too heavy. I don't want it to fill any of the detail. What I do like about this model is that the detail is very bold, and that's quite exciting. It means it's just nice and clear and not over the top, but it's still possible for me to fill that detail up with paint. I'm just going to try and be very, very careful. Lots of details like that engine bay at the back there. Lots of fans and grills and grates and things. Just make sure that I'm filling that all with the primer. Excellent. Okay, take it around to the other side. Running a little low on primer in the hopper, so what I'm going to do very quickly is mix up a little bit more. I don't think I'm going to need as much as I just put in, so I'm going to put in about 2/3 of that amount, and I'm going to put in a drop of thinner and a drop of flow improver. Because I think I've almost covered everything. I'm sure I could do, but sometimes you get further with stubbornness, says Christina. Absolutely. I hate to admit it, but you're absolutely right. Nothing like learning a lesson the hard way, right? Bit of a mix up with an old brush. Mix all those chemicals together in my hopper. Chuck that tissue away. Make sure we've got a good flow. Okay, up onto its side. Let's get these side skirts and oh my goodness, I keep doing that, don't I? The side skirts here are called shirtsen, and we've got all these tools and things along the side here. And if you can see where I've been spraying a minute ago, very directional, means that there's undercrofts there which I've got no primer on. That will be problematic later on, so I'm going to make sure that I get all of that as well. All the way along the side skirts, also known as bazooka plates. I think that's an American thing though. Oh, I've just seen a little detail that needs to be chopped out. the little support in there. Just as I sprayed it, it just caught the paint. Chop, chop, lush. It's gone somewhere, don't know where it's gone. It's not in there anymore though. Excellent. Okay. There it is. It's just got blown out by the air. Lovely. Try to be careful of the way I hold it. Don't want to take any of that primer off or get it unnecessarily on my hands. It's also important to make sure that you get inside the tracks as well, because the tracks do go through to the other side. And when I'm putting the paint on later on the tracks, I don't mind so much if I don't get any paint into some of the areas, as long as I've got a primer in there, because it'll just act as a shadow and you won't necessarily see it. I think I went a bit heavy in there. Oh well. Let's pop that to a side. Come back to the turret. Okay. We're pretty much done on the turret. What I am going to do is make sure I give it a second coat. I've got loads of primers. No need to be stingy. Well, I went a bit too heavy there. Never mind. At least it'll give it a nice smooth surface when it dries. Just realised I might be pulling some really strange faces as I'm painting away here. Anyone else do that? Like the old tongue sticky out thing when you're painting? The face of concentration? At least I'm on the internet, so it can be captured forever and ever. Yeah, one of the things that I've had to deal with running an online show is just getting over that. You're online, man. People are going to see you. Get over yourself. Okay, I'm going to try and be very careful on how I put that down, because if I drop it down now I could just get paint all over the place. So I'm going to use my little clamps here. They're actually not wide enough. Can I put it down without touching it on the table? Yes, I can. Oh, there we go. Fantastic. So, do you know what? I'm watching the live chat. Not going to read that out. It's just getting a bit sensitive now, isn't it? Okay. What I'm going to do very quickly is just blast a little bit of air from the airbrush over this, just to agitate and dry that primer on there. It is drying actually very, very quickly, and I'm pretty happy with that. I didn't want to go and get my partner's hairdryer for this, because I think that resin will react with the heat very differently to plastic. Like, it will melt quite quickly, so I didn't want to do that. I've just noticed it's a little bit bland on the top, so I'm just going to make sure there's a good coverage there. Something about the surface of this particular model is drying really fast, which can only be a good thing. Right, I don't feel so bad about putting him on his top now. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, obviously, is the underside. Do you know what I want to do at this point? I do want to get my little turntable out, because I'm going to start spinning it around, so I'm going to start rubbing that paint off. So let's just bring my turntable up, pop him on there, so now it's just a little bit easier for me to move him around, a little less aggressive. very trigger happy today on this airbrush. I need to calm that down a little bit. Okay, if I spin that around too fast, I'm going to knock that turret. Maybe I should have thought about where I was going to put that banner. We all make mistakes, right? Okay. Okay, you can see it. The autofocus is a little bit out today, isn't it? Come on. Snap to. That's better. Yeah, I need a bit more primer. Just going to mix up a bit more in the hopper. And hopefully, in the second half of this show, we will be able to see the yellow going on. And I'm really looking forward to that. It's a really nice paint set to use, where you've got the 6 different light gradients of the same colour. It's just really nice to work with that set. I've got a couple of modulation sets. Obviously, I've got the camouflage set, the German camouflage modulation set. I've got an Allies olive green, which is a beautiful colour to work with. I've got the Panzer Grey, which is all sort of like the Russian invasion, or the invasion of Russia, Stalingrad kind of colours. It's a little bit bland, but it's historically accurate. I've also got the Contour scheme, which is the British Mediterranean style, so I think around like Italy and North Africa. I've got a paint set of that as well, all in modulation colours, and it's they're really nice quality paints to work with, and you get some really nice, interesting sort of techniques with them. They are designed to artificially replicate shadows and reflections and highlights and things like that. So if you were to like paint a model to be lifelike, you would probably just go one colour, green, blue, grey, whatever colour it is you want to paint it, because when you buy a car or when you see a real tank, they're not rendered, they're not shaded. That shadow and light does that for you, but it's just one colour. But modulation sets allow you to kind of bring interest to your piece of art, because that's what it is, isn't it? By bringing light and shadows a part of the way that you paint. And out of all the different styles, it seems to be the one that I've latched onto, and I'm going to try it on this one as well. The printing lines on this model seem to be heavier on the bottom, and that stands to reason, because you're not going to see underneath it so much, are you, as you would do on the top. So if you are the designer, the maker of this model or whatever, if there's going to be a bit where you don't mind so much about it being rougher, it's the underside. But I mean, it's got holes in it, who cares about a few lines? So I'm not too fussed about it looking a little rougher on the underside. Put a little bit of grey paint in there. Sorry, black paint. Grey paint, black paint into those drain holes, just so they don't stand out so much, What this now needs is just a lot of air and a little bit of time to just dry off before we come in with all those colours. Just trying to make sure that all the angles are taken care of. There's some details on the front, on the top of the hull, that I can see. There's like a gun and a light underneath here. If I look down inside this, I can see that there's no paint in there. There's a little bit of a missing bit in here, on the inside of the wheels. About this side. This side's pretty good, really. Having to come down at a bit of an angle there, so I put my hand in the way to stop it from spraying black over everything over here, including my monitor. Okay, so I'm literally barely got any paint left in there. There we go, in the paint chamber at all. Just going to sit here and blast some cool air over it. Christina says, honestly, that tank with those tread skirts I don't know the name, could go sci-fi really quick. What say your foes when you pull up in a vaporware tiger? Yeah, man, that'd be cool. Yeah, these side plates, they're just called skirts. The German word for them is shirts, and that is just German for skirts. The Americans had them on a lot of their vehicles, like the Chaffee, the Hellcat, things like that. They call them bazooka plates, and they're designed. They're quite thin, comparatively thin. They're still quite thick to us. Thin bits of metal, probably about a little bit thinner than the thickness of my finger, I suppose. But they're there for like anti-tank or RPG rockets and things like that, where all the damage or most of the damage is just absorbed by these sheets of hanging metal. And on a lot of the later German vehicles, you'll see them in various forms, especially on the Panzer IV sort of variants, the Stugs as well. They actually had them on the sides of their turrets as well. And I personally, I quite like the idea behind them. I think that the concept of a hanging armoured plate, a spacer if you like, I think it's kind of genius, because when you're getting a projectile that is designed to punch through your armour, it wastes all of its energy on the plate going up to your vehicle. It's so straightforward, it's so simple, it's borderline genius. Drying very quickly on the back there. Some direct cool air. It'll still probably be tacky to the touch, but that's okay. Got plenty of time to dry. I just want it to not be dripping wet so that I can move it around a little bit. Something about this resin and perhaps the 3D lines on it just means that the paint is... I'm literally watching it dry before my very eyes. It's fascinating to watch. I wonder if you can see this. I wonder if it will work here. You can see the shiny area. That's wet paint. If I just blast with some cold air here, literally watch it dry and cure straight away. Bonkers, isn't it? Something about the resin, I'm sure. I'm going to dare to pick it up. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply a bit more cold air just on this track here, because I'm going to ultimately put it on its track, so I don't want it to stick to the surface and pull that paint off. Again, on the undersides of the tracks here, even though I am going to paint them, I don't mind so much if it kind of gets... the paint surface gets damaged by it sort of having bits of rubbed off bits and then painting over the top. If it was on a nice panel on the top of the tank, I would, stay away from that. But underneath, you're not going to see it. It's on dirty tracks. I think it'll lend to that effect anyway. You know what I mean, don't you? When you put like when you touch a painted surface or a recently painted surface, it will leave a mark on it. And no matter what you do, you can't really ever get rid of that mark. Even if you paint over it, it's still there. Especially when it's as thin as an airbrush coat. But on the bottom sides of these tracks, I'm not really fussed. But I do want to not peel loads of paint off. There are a couple of little areas on the back plate here that do need a bit of primer, funnily enough, which is a bit annoying, but whatever. Got a turntable, but I'm not going to use it. Christina says, I'm still impressed at your traditional camo painting skills. Thank you very much. I don't know when the last time I did any traditional camo painting. If you're talking about what I did on the mouse a few weeks ago, yeah, I was really impressed with how that came out. But that's not traditional, but thank you anyway. That was based entirely off of a concept that that a particular painter had that my dad, who is Lorna in here, but it's called Jeff, found on Pinterest and sent it to me. And that particular artist was experimenting with concepts from World War II battleships. So that was a design that you would see on the sides of, sea vessels. And I just thought it would be fun to copy, and I copied it like directly. I'm not going to mince around and say, oh, I just took inspiration from it. I copied that model directly. I'm going to put just a couple of drops of primer in it. I'm not going to mince around with putting thinners or anything in there. I literally just need to patch up a couple of little holes, really. I can see a few bits now. It's dried a little bit, and it's mostly on the back here. There's a few areas just in here. A little bit across the top of the tooling on the sides. I'll just whack the turret. Of course I will. Yep. I need to move that turret. Okay, well, look, there we go. I've finished the priming. I'm pretty happy with that. I think it's certainly a very good base for me to start putting the yellows on. Adrian says that the pattern for the mouse seems to take inspiration from the Dazzler camo seen on the KMS Bismarck. I didn't know that. That's really interesting. I've heard the term Dazzle camo. It's really hard for me to say. Dazzle camo. I want to say like Dazzo Camel, weird. But yeah, the information that came with the images that I spotted for that inspiration didn't actually specify where that camouflage came from. It was just an inspiration of it. But that's interesting to know. Jeff says, do you think the 28mm scale and up that you need to dirty the tank up? Any pics that you see, they are filthy, and the Ally tanks are covered in all their kit and tarps, etc. Yes. When you go smaller, less is more. We've learned that one. I've learned it the hard way, and I've got proof in the pudding. But because this is certainly, it's almost twice the size of the 15mm, there's a lot more space to do more stuff with. I wouldn't do as much on this as I would do a 1/35th build, which is going to be like you wouldn't fit in the screen. So I wouldn't go as far as that, but I am going to go heavier. I'm going to go grittier. I'm basically going to try and pull out all the stops on this one within reason. I don't want to overdo a 28mm model. Anyway, look, we are pretty much at that time for a break. So if you're new and you've not been here before, it's not a full 2 hours. There's a 10-minute break in the middle with some jaunty jazz tunes. This is going to be a perfect opportunity for me to let this paint dry a minute, and I'm going to give the airbrush a quick clean out, and hopefully I can get that done in time. It is behaving, but it does need a quick clean, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'll see you back in about 10 minutes. In the meantime, you should go and change your paint water or something like that. See you in 10. Bye bye. Hello, and welcome back. Connoisseurs will notice that I pushed the wrong button again just before we went to break. I have a habit of that lately. Really sorry for the lack of professionalism and continuity in my own show. Just spent the last 10 minutes just cleaning out the airbrush. Started to get a little bit worried because sometimes if you don't do it for long enough, and 10 minutes might not be long enough, you might end up just moving a blockage further in if there's one there. And the airbrush was working quite well a minute ago, and as I started to clean it out, there wasn't really much of a blockage. So I started to get a little bit nervous that I may have potentially made it worse. But I'm pretty confident now. Spent a good time cleaning it out. Got out some lumpy bits of paint inside the paint chamber. And what I'm doing now is I'm just cleaning out the hopper. Because I did this stupid thing where I started to strip it apart and I hadn't washed it out. So it was still thick with primer on the inside. So now I look like a child with biro all over my hands, but it's actually paint. So don't do that. If you're cleaning out your airbrush, clean it out before you take it apart. Anyway, I hope you guys have had a good break. I've finished now, I think, priming this model. I'm quite keen just to kind of get on now and put the colours on it, and it will start coming alive. And I bet you as soon as that yellow goes on this tank, the character's going to really come out, and I'm really looking forward to that. Don't forget, if you're new here, do please consider subscribing to the show. That's the button I pushed earlier on by accident. Subscribe. Yeah, if you like what we do, please do subscribe. We're all about growing the community now. We've got a really good embedded community, and I'm really so happy with that. But let's not stop there. Let's make the community bigger. So if you know someone or think you know someone who might want to join in the show, might benefit from the show, give them a shout and let them know all about Easy 8. Go and shout it out on the street. Tell someone at work. Do whatever. Let's make the show grow. Ooh, that's good. Didn't plan that. The show grow. Stafford says, so I am drinking whiskey while using super glue. What could go wrong? Knowing you, mate, everything. Everything could go wrong. You could glue yourself to the super glue. You could drink the super glue instead of the whiskey. Yes, Kes is saying with you, everything. If it's going to go wrong with the super glue, it's going to be you, isn't it? Yeah, cool. Please don't take offence to that. I'm just jesting, but yeah, you know what I mean. Anyway, I decided not to go and get a grown-up juice because I spent the last 10 minutes cleaning out this airbrush, but it is running smooth, which is great. I'm really looking forward to this, the character of this tank coming out. And if you like it, give this video a thumbs up. Why not, eh? Right, I'm gonna keep the cleaner there just for a minute in case I need to give it another rinse out. Let's get my little bit of paper back up here again, and we're gonna head straight back over to the workbench. Here we go. So yeah, giving it a clean out, you can see that I've got black paint all over my fingers now. That is literally as I opened it up, like there was paint on everything. Like, oh my goodness. But what can you do, huh? I'm just gonna I've got like a little mixture here. I'll let these little bottles that I just kind of fill up with all the chemicals that I use. This is a 50-50 mix of airbrush cleaner and water. There's no need to really put neat cleaner through your airbrush. I use it when I'm cleaning down components like the needle or the nozzle tip on the inside, etc. on a deep clean. Or if I'm using something that's particularly aggressive and binds to all the components. But you're just going to go through all of your very expensive cleaner very quickly. It does just as fine a job if you dilute it 50-50. So if you're thinking about that, give it a try. It's obviously not as efficient as 100% cleaner, but you don't. Yeah, it's not like you use twice as much. You don't use twice as much, and therefore end up using the same amount anyway. It's not the same. There you go. It's going a bit slow, but it's coming out smooth. And frankly, that's what I really want. Got a little bit of water here. You can see there's a little bit of black that came out. So there is, even though I've cleaned it out, there is a little bit of black, probably in the nozzle, just down here inside. There's probably a little bit of black paint. That's fine. I just kind of want to wash the cleaner out, really. So whatever goes on the model isn't contaminated with all these little bits and pieces. Staff says, hey, at least I shouldn't bleed. Yeah, that's Jeff's job. He's the bleeder. It does depend on how much super glue you get on yourself and you pull all your own skin off your bones. You can get to right mess with super glue. I do. Right, a sip of my cold tea now. Right, okay. Pop that over there. Just a quick test on the paper there, make sure there's nothing left in there. I find pulses, so like pulse, rather than the constant stream, just seems to push whatever's left out in the inside. So inside here is like a little paint chamber. The paint runs down from inside the hopper, goes down into the nozzle, and inside the nozzle is like a little cone that fits over the end of the needle. You can see there's the needle, and there's the cone on the inside, and all the paint kind of gets gummed up inside there. Basically, we're working with really tiny components, and the tiniest little blockage is just enough to stop everything. But it seems to be working fine. Excellent, he says. Let's have a look. Here we go. Got a drawer full of all these modulation sets. You see me use this not too long ago. We know what it's all about. It's got the same colour in different luminosities. So it's all about the Dunkel Gelb, the dark yellow, this colour here, and it goes into lighter versions into highlights so that you can get lighter points, and it goes down into these shadows so that you can get darker points on the back. It's a much better sort of picture style demonstration, casting shadows where it's supposed to be the darkest. So in the wheels, the bottom of the turret is a really good place, underneath some overhanging details, underneath the cannon on the mantlet, etc. Just there. I'm actually looking at this model. I'm wondering, I think it's not a panther. I don't know. It's certainly not a king tiger because of the turret here. But it looks like it's got a panther hull. I'm not sure about this element. I wonder what tank this actually is. Interesting. Anyway, yes, you can see the idea is to add shadows and highlights to it. Steve says, I use the Flugenvogelschranke. Oh. Okay, cool. Jeff says, until they have to cut the whiskey glass from your gluey hand at A&E. It's exactly what I meant, yeah. Right, inside this packet, all these paints. I'm going to start with... now, normally I start with the base and then I do some shadows and then I do some highlights. But as the infographic on the back of the box suggests, start dark and work your way lighter. So rather than starting here and then adding some shadows and then adding some highlights, I'm just going to start at the base and just work my way up. And that should work in tandem with the fact that I've got a black undercoat. So here we go. I'm going to go straight in for Dunkel Gelb Shadow. Going to give this a really good shake. Going to get rid of my primer there. That's in my way. And now I'm going to give this a really good waz, because I don't think I've used Shadow for a really long time and it really needs mixing up. Oh no, my Vortex Mector's just stopped working. Remember I said it was going to die? Don't die on me now. There we go. It's really mixing it now. Okay. Give that a really, really good shake. Now, I'm not going to start messing around with flow improvers. These paints, they come out really smooth. And it might be that one particular one in this box set might need a little bit of flow improver, but I'm just going to get started with them just as they are. I might, with the lighter ones, add a little bit of thinner perhaps, just to kind of dilute it and make it stretch that little bit further. Because if I'm using the middle sets more than I am the shadows and the highlights, if I'm using those bases more, then I'm going to use them more, and eventually I'm going to run out and have loads of highlights and shadows. Quick flow test. Excellent. I'm going to start on the hull. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to basically do the inside of this wheel cavity here. Calling it a wheel cavity, that's just a word I made up for it. Bit of air in it, just to make sure that everything's dry first of all. At this point, not too concerned if I get too much on the skirts. I'm actually going to deliberately try and get a little bit on the bottom edge of them. That'll look quite fun. And I'm doing a little bit down those lines that it separates all the different plates basically. I'm going to come from directly underneath now and spray on the top side or the underside of the sides. Okay, under the mud flaps at the back. We're a little bit tacky in places, and I'm just trying to make sure that whatever I touch, I'm not pulling any paint off or leaving fingerprints on and things like that. I am at the back end of this tank. I am going to kind of focus on shadow at this end and then highlights towards the front. So just kind of positioning the tank in the way that I want the paint to kind of go on. And I'm going to make sure that I come underneath all of the tools here. Just the light coating, just to reduce the amount of black that's there. And I will be painting over this with all the other colours as well. There we go. Also going to make sure that I come in this direction here because I want to make sure that I'm getting shadows on the back parts of these raised details. Same again here. Underneath all that tooling. And go down those dividing lines between the skirts there. Now into that wheel cavity area. I've called it that once, so I'm going to keep on calling it that now. Have I used all my paint? I've used all my paint. Okay, cool. That went a little bit further than I thought it was going to, so I'm just going to keep with that strength of paint. I'm just going to put about 4 or 5 drops in that hopper. And that might even stretch now to doing the whole underside of the tank, which is what I want to do. Quick flow test on that paint. Okay, that's good. Got a bit heavy there on the side of the skirts by accident, but I can paint over, so no big issue. Excellent. Now, what I want to do here is I want to do this whole back end quite heavily in this shadow, so I'm going to do the whole back plate in this shadow from upside down, so that we got this, the dominating colour here is this colour. If I do it all from this position, when I turn it up, you'll see all the black primer instead. See the black primer, turn it up this way, now we've got that shadow brown. What I'll do later on is I'll hit a highlight colour in there, but I'll choose a darker highlight so that the back end of the tank is still in shadow. Jeff is there saying, I think it's a late concept King Tiger, the E100 possibly. That's what I thought. It did look like that, or a late concept Panther. Yeah, potentially. Just interesting that they chose that for the infographic on the back of the box, right? You thought you were going with something a little bit more popular, perhaps, but it's not about the tank, is it? It's about the paint. Okay, I'm going to holding by the sides of the tracks there just for a second. What I want to do now on the front of this tank is I want to get quite a light dusting on the front. I don't want to hit too much shadow on the front because the front's all about being a highlighter colour or a lighter colour, but I want to get underneath the details on there. So there's like a little there's a little lamp and there's a machine gun on the front there as well. There we go. Under the mud flaps there. That's exactly what I want. And now what I'm going to do is go under the glasses. So the glasses is the sloped armour at the front. And I want to go under the underside here and then all the way along the bottom. So on the inside of the wheels as well. It's interesting actually, because normally when I'm spraying this colour onto a white or grey primed miniature, it looks really, really dark, but on this it's looking really, really bright. Certainly brighter than what I would normally see it as. Just interesting. Perspective, man. Okay, I'm just going to quickly pick him up and turn him around. Anytime I see an area where it hasn't really been covered, I want it to be covered, it's a quick opportunity to address that. Yep, I need a bit more paint, that's fine. Could have put a bit thinner in it, can I really? Oh well, whatever. Okay. Quick flow test. Happy to announce that the airbrush is working like a dream. That is good. I want to get a tiny bit of the shadow around some of the details over here. So just a small amount coming out. I can see it being painted onto the paper there. That looks kind of cool. Some of the details on the top here. Now, I know I said I was going to do a highlighted colour on the back coming down, but I do want it to be a little bit of this colour there. So a quick light spray like that. Okay, and we're done on the hull. We might want to do a bit more later on, but for now, that's fine. What I want to do now is basically do the whole underside of the turret. In the same vein that I did the whole underside of the tank itself. Now I'm wondering if I should have sanded these little pimples off, because it might be that as he turns around on the tank he might leave scores on the surface of the thing, but do you know what, right now, just looking forward to having them painted. I might come back and do it later on. That's a me problem. I've literally only just thought of that. Just excited to get some paint on it, right? It will be a quick thing to redo, because I'm not going to go any further with like colours or anything like that on there. Jeff says, yep, it's a Panther Mark II late war concept. Oh, there you go. Nice to know. So, as the infographic suggested, I'm going to do the bottom edge of the turret all the way around. And I'm going to focus a little bit into the details on here. So we've got some spare track parts, and I want to get some shadow in and around them. The tracks will be painted a different colour, probably black, but in and around them I want some shadow yellow to be put on there. bit more on the back of the turret because I've done a little bit more on the back of the hull. So I want it to be darker at the back, lighter at the front. So community, road trip where and when? Next road trip, Tijuana, Mexico. What's in Tijuana that you want to go there for? Blimey, says Jeff. Why Tijuana? We are talking about going to the Tank Museum, so if anyone's interested in that, hit me up on the comments. We always have a great time going to the Tank Museum. It is a hoot. Oh, I went a bit heavy there. I just kind of slipped on the trigger a little bit. So now I've kind of done all around the bottom and around some of the details there and around the back of that turret. What I want to do now is do the underside of the cannon. So I just want to make sure I've got the bottom of the mantlet done there. The mantlet being the front part of the turret where the cannon goes into. That's looking good. I just want to make sure the top of the turret is dry, because what I want to do is turn the turret upside down and just literally come in from one direction. Not the band. And just kind of hit it with some directional shadow. So just a bit of air on the top. There we go. Turn them upside down. And what I'm going to do here, there we go. I'm going to let him dry like that. What's he looking like underneath? See, a little bit has come off the track here. I'm going to paint the tracks later on. I'm not really fussed about that as long as it doesn't do it any more than that. Okay, we are at the end of this colour. Exciting times. Right, Tank, you can go over there. Chill out for a minute. Get my little purge tank in. Pause in a couple of weeks. February. I've got an awful feeling that I am working on those days. Tell me it's on the 3rd and 4th. It's right in the beginning of February, isn't it? Please. Oh dear, I have touched alcohol. My apologies, says Stafford. Interesting cup, says Steve, in Tijuana, Mexico. Yep. As we've all heard, very famous cups. Pause in a couple of weeks. You might have put the date up there, but it is hidden behind a little heart icon. I can't quite see it. 3rd and 4th. Oof, pull a sickie. No, it's okay. I'm not working on those days. I was just talking with my manager just before I came out from home to home today, talking about another training thing that I have to go to on the 13th and 14th. So that's easy, isn't it? Easy. And no, I don't celebrate Valentine's Day. I don't do it. Love my partner very much, but I don't need a specific day to take her out to a meal or tell her that I love her. And all that nonsense. We just don't do it. Kez is planning to go on the 4th, which is the Sunday. Now, Kez and I were talking about this a little while ago. It's always better to go on the first day of an event that runs over 2 days because there's more going on, there's more people there, and all of the stuff that they sell hasn't sold out. If it's the only day that you can go, it's the only day you can go. But you guys are the community. I'm not the organiser of these things. You guys work out what days you want to go. You let me know and we'll organise it together as a community. Okay, so I'm totally up for that. Okay, going to move away from the shadow colour. I'm now going to move into the next step, which is the dark base. So having a little look on here, we've done the shadow. Now we're putting dark base on there. So I think what we're going to do is we're basically going to cover every area that we are looking at that isn't the shadows, basically. So anywhere left on here that is black, and any overspray areas is what I'm going to hit this colour with. You can see that it's going to the traditional colour. It's a darker version of it. The standard colour is slightly lighter. So this is a dark base, this is the base. This is the actual colour, that's the darker one. There we go. Pause on the 3rd, Bovington on the 4th. I'm totally down with that, absolutely. A little bit down to Plymouth, a little bit over the Dorset, why not? Yeah, we could. I might have an upset partner about it, but I'll have a chat with her about it for sure. Or we can go to one on one weekend and the other on the other weekend. That splits it up a little bit, right? Basically, I don't get to see my partner an awful lot, apart from on weekends. And that was what I was going to talk about, Discord today. Normally, if you're new, this will be important for you. Not important, but you won't know this. But normally, we have the Discord Easy 8 After Party, where straight after the show, myself and members of the community will be on Discord. There's a link down there provided for you to go and find out, where you can just come and chat with me and each other on a live video chat, or you can just type to each other, you can share photos and whatever, but it's just a nice way to kind of unwind after the show, which is family friendly. Look at some of you guys there. It is family friendly, and if you want to kind of like, put the kids to bed or forget about them for a little while, pour yourself a grown-up juice and then come and let the P's and Q's unwind a little bit, then that's the place for you to come and do that. Today I'm not going to be on Discord. Bit of a shame. I do enjoy chilling out with you guys after the show. I certainly enjoy a grown-up juice myself, but since my partner's birthday, I've been away. I've not actually seen my partner since I've been back. So I'm going to go spend the evening with her today. I think it's only fair. I'll be up in the workshop tomorrow. I keep calling it the workshop, but it's a studio because she doesn't know how messy it is, and I don't want her to find out. It's really messy up here. I'm actually very ashamed. Anyway, straight in for the dark base now. Here we go. I've got a blockage in the pot, so I've got a little pointy thing here. Here's my little pointy thing. And all I'm going to do is just shove it right down inside. Lush. Oh, that was a big spurt. I am going to put some flow improver in this. That whole sequence of events was extremely inappropriate. I do apologise for all of that. It's supposed to be a family show. Whatever. I don't think there are any children that watch this anyway. That's not the right attitude, I know, but whatever. The 5th to the 19th in Tier 1 at I, bang, bang. Okay. So sorry to any Mexicans. I do know one, and they might actually be watching this show on the sly, so I'm not going to do my impression of Mexicans ever again. I need a Dryomatic. Do you? Do you know what? I'm actually quite impressed by how fast my paint is drying this evening. It's not that cold in the studio tonight. It has been bitter cold lately here in the southwest of the UK. If any of you living in the UK, you all know that there are storms aplenty and the weather is changing. Insert your Creedence Clearwater Revival song of choice. But it's not that bad here today in the studio. It's normally absolutely freezing. Maybe it's just because I've got so much stuff in here that it doesn't take very long for it to warm up. It's honestly, it's bonkers. Still got the Christmas tree. It's all flat back, it's not in its box. It's just down there under a pile of stuff. I'm not even entirely sure what it all is. It's certainly will have to do one. You guys. Right. Let's make sure we've got a good flow. Don't want any spitty bits coming off of that. Okay, here we go. So, because of the nature of the resin print, it's actually quite shiny and quite reflective. So I have to hold it at a certain angle to make sure that I'm going to be spraying in the right areas. So I'm just going to go like this. Here we go. I'm going in quite light at the moment. I want a nice gentle covering. I'm trying to focus coming in from the front rather than going in the opposite direction, because I want there to be shadow at the back and you know, highlights towards the front. Also trying to let that black undercoat do its thing as well. Getting some spitty bits there. I think I might have... The airbrush is starting to block up a little bit. And because I've got some thinners in there, it means that occasionally you get like a little sputter. I get like a little dot, I just try my best to blow it away or touch it away. Little dots at the back there, for example. Here we go. On the back now. I do love the dark yellow. The German dark yellow is such an intimidating colour scheme. Really nice. Occasional dot there, just coming out from the airbrush. A little bit frustrating. Not a lot I can really do about it at the moment, but I'm not too fussed about how this. You know, I'm not trying to be too neat with this colour scheme because I know that I'm going to go all over it with a camouflage. So you know, what might look really good now might look. Well, it might be covered up later on, you know. So, try and not be too precious about it. What I'm doing here is doing a little bit of directional work. I'm going to try and get some yellow on the skirts here, leaving a little bit darker down at the end. I want it to be bright at the front, but I'm trying to get a little bit of colour into the wheels at this sort of angle, meaning that you'll get more shadow from looking this way, but you'll get more highlights coming in this way. Looking pretty good. Funny little bit of artifacting here on the front. You can see there where the paint's not really sticking to, and that is something to do with the print lines. This stage, I think all I can really do is just try and paint it, and hopefully paint gets in there. It might be that I need to sand it down. I bit of a nuisance. Here's that angle that I was talking about earlier on. Make sure that we get some yellow in there, but still leaving it shadowy. I can always come back in, touch up with a bit of shadow if I need to. So if I end up like doing too much lighter colour down here, I can bring more shadow back in as well if I want to. What I'm trying to do now is feather in a little bit of this yellow into the middle of these skirt plates, but less at the rear because I want it to be more shadowy down there. Went a bit too heavy there, but you can kind of see what I'm trying to do. Okay, I'm going to just do a little bit on the front of the underside of the glasses here, because if you look at it, it's very two-tone. I don't really want that. So, just flip him over ever so quickly. Tiny amounts of paint damage here where I've been putting him down on the paper, and I am getting a little bit concerned about that. The more I paint him now, the more I put him down to rest him, the more damage I'm going to be doing, so I have to start being a bit more careful now. And careful is not what I am good at. We've got about 10 minutes left of the show, so if there's anything you wanted to do, say, share with the rest of the people here, now is absolutely the time to be doing that. I'm certainly looking forward to getting at least one more colour onto this tank before the end. So let's moving over to the turret here now. Do you know, I think I've had more luck in the past starting off with a middle colour and then working my way down to a shadow and then back up to a highlight. So I think in the future I might stick to that because I just find it easier. Got a really nice flow rate coming out of the airbrush there. Really don't want to disturb that, but every now and again you've got to just pull the airbrush away, just give it a little pulse to make sure that there's no build-up of paint. And now I've got to try and find that flow rate again. Oh, I think I've just done it. Goodness me. and it's good to try and get like some sort of uneven coverage of your paint on there to make it look like, well, natural basically. And it seems to be working, which is nice. It's coming out nice, isn't it? Okay, let me just go down the front of the cannon, much like the way I did with the shadow. Going to be coming down the top there. I'm going to try and do the side a little bit more as well. So we've got the shadow colour underneath, we've got that highlight colour on the top, but I've got a black strip down the side here. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of wiggle sideways like this to try and get that sort of coverage around the cannon here. But I don't want to take up all the shadow, so more at a sort of a 45-degree angle. And then the same on this side here. Got some little artifacting there where I've been a bit heavier, so I can try and even that out now. Just going to dry that by agitating it with some cold air. And now just going to give it a little bit of a uniforming blast from the top there. Even it out a little bit. Actually just ran out of paint. That's okay. Dregs left in the paint chamber. Very economic use of my paint. Excellent. That's cool. Starting to look the business now, right? Loving it. Yeah. Okay. What I'm going to do very quickly, because the turret is, I think, is where the business really is on this tank, and I think it's easy to get some nicer effects. So I'm going to go straight to the other colour, which is the standard base colour, and I'm going to apply this just before the end of the show, because why not? So we're aiming for pause on the 3rd. Jeff says, yeah, I've got to meet a customer. Okay, cool. Let's carry the conversation on over Facebook. If you're new, you want to carry on the conversation, head on over to Facebook. Again, links to all of our platforms are down there in the description of this video. And I will start a thread over there where we can start organising that outing. Let's not commit to anything right now. A lot of us have still got to sort out a few bits and pieces at home. But I'm sure that that is something that we can do. If you have been working on anything this evening, do let me know how it has gone. Have you had any successes? Have you had any issues? Got any things that you want to celebrate? Has it gone well? Has it gone bad? Anything you want to talk about? I've not mixed any thinner in with this yellow here. So it's a little... doesn't want to come out so easily, which is good. And a bit more control here. That's looking pretty effective, isn't it, hey? You can tell I got my concentration voice on because I didn't say anything during that whole time. Now if we compare that colour to the colour of the hull, looking just a little bit more vibrant, gritty, darker, really liking that. Might be a little bit too gritty on this side, but I do like it. It's very good. This side's looking better, I think, in my own personal opinion. So you can see the two colour differences there. So anyway, some comments going in. Not very model, but interesting to some. Painting a bike in the coming weeks. We'll send pics. I read that the other way around, but it still made sense. Thanks, Steve. Ket says, got 2 mechs done with their red accents. Would love to see some photos. Do you know what, Steve? Put pictures of the bike up you're painting. That's what I want to see. Jeff says, I put the slates on 8 roofs of the timber-framed houses and finishing up. Good God, it was boring. Sounds fun. Yeah. Rather you than me. Yeah, this paint wants to block up just a little bit more than the other ones, and that's probably because I didn't put thinner in there, and I'm regretting that straight away. I'm a little bit worried about this print artifacting at the front here, not so much on the front of the mud, the front of the wheel houses here, but on the sides. It's a bit weird, isn't it? A bit weird. Until I got a blockage, getting all foamy in there. Look. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of thinner in there. That'll make it all go weird for sure. Okay, I'll put a tiny amount of paint back in. There's still some thinner in there. Just clean my brush out, give it a bit of a mix up. Okay, let's see what happens now. Excellent, okay, cool. I'm worried about it being slightly spitty, but who cares? Really struggling with what's coming out of the airbrush now. I think we've kind of got to a natural pause point. 3 more drops. Let's get a bit of flow improver in there. Clean brush. Touch of water on the end of it, that's fine. I might be pushing old dry paint down from inside the hopper down into the paint chamber, which will do it. Okay, we've got a bit of flow. Here we go. Try and make sure I get a little bit of overspray on the wheels at a nice angle again to just bring in some highlights. Let's get the last of that out. I'm going to have to clean the brush out again. Just going to flush it through with some water and we're done for tonight. This needs to sit there and dry for a little while overnight. We're going to have to put the lid on the airbrush because it's starting to bubble up quite aggressively there. Just give that a good old purge. What I'm going to do is I'll put the turret on the hull so you can see it all put together. It's looking pretty mean. I'm really liking the turret on it. I think I need a bit more shadow on there, so I might have to come back in with some shadow colours on the hull here. And that's what I mean by I think I prefer it when I do the order of the colours that I paint. I prefer starting in the middle, working down and working up, rather than just working from the bottom all the way up, like the box art suggests. It just seems to be a little more correct to me, really. Let's get that out of the way. Pop this out of the way. There we go. So, we've got quite a dark tank here. I might actually come in with some of the dark yellow rather than just the shadow, just to apply a little bit of that colour in here. On the back they're looking very, very dark. Very boding. Yeah. Stafford says, Tiger built, magnetised and undercoated. That is proper cool. Well done to you. Here we go. Here is the moment. Yeah. That is a badass looking tank, isn't it? Isn't it? Oh, cool. And he's introduced a little bit more shadow in the back at the bottom, back into the bottom, hard thing to say, of that turret. And I'm going to try and bring a little bit more. Let me use a pointy thing. There's a nice soft brush. Knock everything over. Yeah, so bring a little bit of shadow back into here. And a little bit along here, and that is the angle change between the side of the hull and the side of the skirt there. Basically, I think it would just be a nice point of interest to just introduce a little bit of shadow all the way along. Otherwise, really liking the look of it. Got a little bit of damage to the tracks here and there, the painting on there, but I haven't got anywhere near doing that yet. Again, I think it'd be nice to bring a little bit more shadow along the bottom of the turret, just to bring that colour change back in, and again just along there a little bit more shadow play. I like the way that the gradient changes from the back to the front. That's really cool. What is a little bit distressing is the way that the print has kind of done this sort of layer change thing here. I don't know why it's done that. It does look familiar to some FDM prints that I've done before, so I know it is a printer thing. And I've got a little bit on this side as well, and what it's doing is it's taking some layers of paint in. It's just making it like a darker patch. Kind of steals the show, doesn't it, from the colour gradient all the way back into shadow. If we look here on the front, we can tell the way that it was printed. It was printed at this angle. So if I hold it up here on this screen, at about 45 degrees-ish. I know this to be the case because here on the machine gun piece, the way that it's done the layers, the circles kind of work the way to the epicenter is here. So that was the way it was printed, actually upside down from that, but so yeah, it's basically printed at this sort of an angle, and I think that is what has left this artifacting here for some reason. And you can see on the front here, a little bit weird. I was worried about that line that kind of went down here, but if I just bring them into focus, you can just see the way that the paint has kind of adhered to that front piece. It's really peculiar. It might be that I spray it down with some varnish and it might just fill that in. But these bits on the sides are going to cause me a bit of problems. And I'm thinking that what I'm going to have to do to solve that is just come in straight away. The next thing I do is just sand that down. And essentially start again there. And I'll have to see if I could just kind of bring this part of the tank at both sides back up to the same colour reference again. And at the same time I could probably reintroduce a little bit of shadow in there. Do I like the black undercoat thing? I don't know if it has helped. It was certainly interesting. I think that it has helped the shadows. I think because I use a modulation paint set. I don't think it really brought an awful lot to the table. If I was doing that thing where I was talking about earlier on with just one colour, and then kind of do a more realistic approach to it, I think it would probably have benefited, because it would basically would have pre-shaded. It would have done everything that the 3 different colours I've done so far. It would have done that for me. So I don't think I need to worry about that. A grey or a white colour would have probably been just as appropriate. Nothing lost, nothing gained. So yeah, can't grumble. But it is a nice colour and it looks really, really mean. This is going to look like a real badass tank. I've got loads of references, as you have seen before. I've got loads of references for camouflage, but we're not worried about camouflage at the moment. Hopefully, by the end of next week, we'll be looking at starting the camouflaging, which I'm stoked about. Of course, when all the camouflage is done, I can do all the tracks and weathering as well, and all the tools and things like that as well. Super fun. Thanks, Stafford. Anyway, let's come away from here. Thanks, Danny. No worries. Thank you. You bought this for me. It's wonderful. I'm really pleased with it. Thank you so much. Anyway, that's the end of the first show of 2024. I hope you guys have done a lot this evening. I hope that you've got a lot lined up. I hope that you're looking forward to painting all your stuff. This is what the show's all about. It's about having some company and getting through the backlog, the collections that we collect and never get painted. So if you've got loads to paint, come and tell us all about it. Join in the community, bring your friends, get them to help you paint through your collections. Maybe you're thinking, never going to get through this, but I don't want to let it go. Get your friends involved, bring your kids along. That's what this is all about, even if the live chat did get a bit fruity earlier on. Anyway, normally we would head straight on over to the Discord channel for the Easy 8 after party. I will not be present, but you should feel free to go on over there. It's there live for you all the time to go and join in. There are loads of video channels down there. They're entertainingly named after parts of a tank. You've got the commander's hatch, the gunner's hatch, and the driver's hatch. I don't know, I just thought it sounded fun. By all means, go and chill out with everybody over there. Share pictures. There's loads of forums on the side when you go in there as well. Loads of places for you to go and chuck all your photos, and you can talk to each other about all of the projects that you are working on. You can, of course, go and stick all of that stuff over on Facebook, and it's really active over there. So we've got loads of new subscribers, we've got loads of new followers on Facebook as well. Welcome to the show, welcome to the community. So go and join in with the discussion over there, and show me all your cool stuff that you've been painting this evening. I want to see everything. In the meantime, I will see you guys next week, and until then, be safe, be kind, and keep on painting. And I'll see you soon. Take care now. Bye bye. At least I hit the right bloody button that time. Embarrassing, isn't it? See ya.